reason why their nominee could not fit, because we are looking for lawyers, we are looking for this, we are looking for that, we are looking for that. We want a board that has the experience across, so that when it comes to HR, there'll be somebody there. When it comes to finance, there'll be somebody. When it comes to law, there'll be somebody. And so thank you for that. Now let me state the things that Prof. and George said, and it is about the GBC and the responsibilities that it has to carry. I think that we do not want to wake up again to any embarrassment like it happened in 2019 and 1994, where GBC, this thing had to be taken to court for having broadcast a process of a political party and did not even carry the news of another political party on the same matter. And the matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court in its ruling says equal means equal. And so, what I expect from board management and the workers is that we should be professional at all times. And nobody is going to punish anybody for acting professionally. At the end of the day, and I say, you see, as human beings, and particularly if we ever have conscience, when we do the wrong things, we know. We know that this thing that we are doing is wrong. And when we do the right things, we know. And so we cannot choose to be that bad that they say buries the head when it has committed what it knows is not that it should have done, without explaining that. Yeah, but the basic responsibility is on the state. It is the responsibility, because the wording of Article 55, 11, and 12 are clear, that the state shall provide fair opportunities. Now, in our part, it is Article 162, Clause 4, or something, that enjoins the state-owned media to open up to everybody. But that we should provide equal access is in 5511. And under 5511 is about political parties. And then 5512 is about candidates. Now, it is where probably, that's what I'm going to ask the board and management, that there are some administrative matters that you have to face. Because who is a candidate? Is it me who is announcing myself that I am presidential candidate? You see, this is a problem. And I think that we as media people need to educate the Ghanaians the right way. In the US, they say presumptive. Presumptive because you have not been confirmed. In our case, when Ayabuafo shouts tomorrow that, and I have money to organize a press conference, I say I am a presidential candidate, and the media too says that I'm a presidential candidate. Of what election? Presidential candidates are only known after the Electoral Commission has certified them. And so in between, while we will appeal to you to be fair, we want you also to use the right phraseology in some of the things that we do. I can say that Dr. Baumia and Mahama, my roommate, former President John Dramani Mahama, are nominees of their political parties. Technically, they are not candidates. To describe them as nominees of those parties is accurate and fair and just. To refer to them as presidential candidates can have technical problems. So we need to look at those things. And then why did the Constitution make a distinction between the right of political parties and the right of candidates? If the two were equal, then there was no need for two provisions to have been made. It must inform us and tell us that the rights that accrue to political parties are not necessarily available to candidates. But if a political party decides to cede its law to a candidate, that is left to them to determine. And therefore, we have to be very, very, very careful. Even as we would not want you to discriminate, but even when we are asking you not to discriminate, we should be cautious about your basic responsibilities. Because law is not ethics. Ethics is fundamentally very different from law. And so you must see how you balance the equation between satisfying the legal aspect as well as the moral and ethical issues, not to create difficulties for yourself. Because the last time that we met here for political parties to do balloting, before we left here, one political party wanted to raise an objection. Because they said that, why do we create political parties with forces and movements? Because and the reality is that political parties have a commitment. Because to be registered as a political party, you are required to satisfy some basic needs. And your presence must be in a certain minimum number of constituencies across. The movements don't have those obligations. And so this one, I'm saying that we are leaving it to you to look at how best to address some of those technical distance that do come up. Now, I also want to leave it to you, the board as well as management, that yes, our facilities must be made available to the political parties. They will advertise. What we know from history is that if we are unable to collect our money and the elections are over, they become bad debts. So I want to encourage you that even as you open up to all the political parties, ensure that you do not run disproportionate adverts that will go into debt. Make sure that at every point in time, what they have paid is more than what they owe. Otherwise, after elections, see, when you go, if the party wins, they are going to use their clout. If they lose, they are going to tell you that you're only following them because they lost. So please, for every advert that you run, let them pay a deposit against the cost. So that even if they will be in debt, the debt will not be so overweening that it will wipe everything and every service that we have rendered unto them. Now, on the basis of these obligations and responsibilities, I want to make an appeal. I had the privilege of presenting the 74th GBC anniversary lecture. And one of the things that I brought up was about around that time, Parliament was considering setting up its own broadcasting station. And some of us felt that, how can Parliament do that when there's a GBC, which is a public service? Recently, we heard the speaker say that they are in the process of setting up their own broadcasting house. And I think that that would be a misapplication of financial resources. The state has a capacity. The human resource is already available. What we need is the capital resource to acquire the equipment and at least to remunerate the human resource in a manner that they will provide us, instead of setting up a new bureaucracy where we are going to recruit everybody and all that. What we need is to invest in the GBC to establish a dedicated channel that will be devoted to activities of Parliament and presented in a professional manner that may not necessarily require recruiting every man of human resource from laborer to the chief executive. And that will be beneficial to every one of us in the sense that at least there will be something small that we can add to the starvation wage that we are pretending that we are paying the staff. And if you look at the loyalty and commitment, the loyalty and commitment is higher than the returns that they get. Indeed, I suffered once at Graphic. Our salary had been increased 30%. And I wrote in my column in the Graphic that it was still starvation wage. And the managing director was so confounded, he invited me and said, "Are you so ungrateful?" And I said, "Did you know that if I went out of Graphic and went into another place, I'll be earning more than you are giving me? I am here not because of the money. I am here because I love the job. You are 30% if I calculate it, because by then I was on 200,000. Somebody had offered me 500,000, which I had rejected. And I said that my place is at Graphic, not at the place. And so when you add 30% to 200, how much does it come to? And so when but the managing director was actually upset. He organized a general meeting to tell them about the issue. And I think that, as new board members, I think that one of the things that I want to put before you, what can we do to improve the, because personally, I'm friends to members of the union, and I've been speaking to them that what is the meaning of a long service. I've lived, so, and when I went around the GBC, you saw, between December and January this year, I went to every regional descent of the GBC. And so today, board member, if you ask me about GBC, there's a lot that I can tell you. But I've been there myself. I know that some of the directors have never gone there. When I went to Ajakote and came back, they were asking me, did you climb? I said, I climbed. I went to Amejope. Is it Amejope or something? I climbed there also. I went to every place that GBC has an installation. The only place that I didn't go was Han. I didn't go to Han. Yeah. And then understand there's one, is it Atebu or something? Those are the only ones that I did not visit. Otherwise, I visited every station. And I am talking more about the parliamentary broadcasting station because I know that presently we have no physical presence in 3 regions, right? In the Savannah region, in the Hafo region, and in the Northeast region. Now, the money that Parliament may need to set up a national broadcasting station, we may not need all that to set up broadcasting stations in these 3 regions that we are not present. And that will serve a better purpose, because I know that if Parliament set up a broadcasting station, it must ensure that it reaches every corner of this country. And to establish that, the capital outlay that you need is far greater than what you need to make GBC present in all the 16 regions, functionally. Now, there's a small matter also, because I have the privilege of standing here, that I want, and that is addressed to the Ghanaian media and many of us, because election is coming. You hear people say that to win an election in Ghana, you need 50% plus 1. I said, which statistics school did you go? Because how can you mix percentages and absolute numbers? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. What the Constitution says is that the winner must get more than 50%. Where did the 1 come from? You see, if you are dealing with 10 and you add 1, it will change the equation. But if you are dealing with 20 million, add 1 and do the calculation and see whether that 1 is significant. And yet, including very highly educated people, still continue to talk about 50% plus 1. I think that we have a duty as Ghanaian media to ensure that we correct that erroneous, semi-literate impression that you need to win 50% plus 1. And if we commit ourselves, we can do that. When I went to the northern region, there's a town in northern region called Bontanga. There's Bogatanga in Upper East. The people who have never ever traveled outside Accra, you say your story, Bontanga, the next day you see Bogatanga. And then the people will be messing you up. Why did you do that? You didn't do that too. The Accra people, with their presumption that they know, change Bontanga to Bogatanga. And it had to take this thing to come and talk to the editor. And say that, why do you keep on embarrassing me? When I say Bontanga, you say Bogatanga. Before, he called a meeting with the staff to tell them that there's a difference between Bontanga in the northern region and Bogatanga in the Upper East region. And that's how we manage to overcome that. And so that's why I'm saying that we in the media can educate our people to the extent that they will understand that it is more than 50% and not 50% plus 1. Because 50% plus 1 does not make sense to the statistician, because it doesn't work that way. Now, finally, let me leave with you with a statement that I've taken from Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And this is important for us as GBC. It's important for us as media people, whether working for the state or working for anybody. And this is what Mrs. Indira Gandhi says. He said, an event does not cease to be an event because the media ignore it. Event because the media ignore it. Neither do the events and people highlighted by the media necessarily leave any mark on history. Neither do those events And those personalities that are always in the media necessarily leave any mark on history. Now, if we know that the world is not only about what we will publish or not publish, then we must do what we ought to do and act professionally at all times, such that even our enemies, even when they comment about us, they will say that, well, we do not agree with you, but this is the best that you can do. But at any time in the history of human people, somebody will have the responsibility of making a decision. And what will inform that individual to decide on what they decide is not what necessarily will inform another person. If that other person were there, he will have made a different decision. But unfortunately, that he doesn't have the privilege, and you have it. But at all times, and yesterday I told our media advisory board, we inaugurated in Ho, and I was telling them that anytime that we are sitting by the microphone, anytime that we are writing our stories, anytime that we are granting those interviews, we should never assume that we are the most intelligent individuals. We should never assume that we are the most important individuals. We must always realize that there are better qualified people than us. There are people who are more knowledgeable in the subject matter that we are discussing than ourselves, except that at that moment, it is the grace of God that has chosen us. And so as I stand here today talking to you, I am not the most intelligent person. I'm not the most knowledgeable person, but I happen to be the chairman of the National Media Commission at this particular time. And if I respect you, if I give you the honor that is due you, then you will appreciate me. And that is what will make me more important than myself, and I can consider myself. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I do hope that the board, management, and GBC will work professionally such that we have no cost. You know, last month, some minister called me and said, why is Graphic treating us like this? I said, what is that? He said, oh, look at the front page. NDC, when NDC launched their campaign, said, why? I said, oh, if this is a problem, that I set the standard. Because it is me who in the policy decided, and Kobe was there. I said that anytime that a political party organizes the launch of their campaign, anytime that they select their candidate, it is the lead of the people, irrespective of whether they will buy. And is that the same? When we try to make the balance between the service and the profit, then we will be a growing concern. And so I told the minister, I said, Mr. Minister, this one fault me. I mean, don't accuse them, because they are only doing what we expect them to do. Continue to do what you are expected to do, so that we will not find ourselves in court where we will completely embarrassed because we offered the platform. And this is why I want you to think through about the question of parties and candidates. Because see, the difficulty for us is that when we do it to one candidate, then we cannot say that we cannot do it to every candidate. And I spoke to Prof. You know, there's a story from Kumasi that I narrated to Prof. That there was this, NDC was going for their primaries. And that's one of the candidates who used to come to Garden City Radio. And every time they would devote about 10 minutes extolling the virtues of this individual. So I called them. And I said, why are you doing this? See, because when you come here, they don't pay him. I said, okay, when I come there, do you pay me? You have been inviting me to your studios. You have never paid me. So if you don't pay him, is that the reason why? I said, if then other NDC people come and they say they want, would you be able to do that? I said, okay, you know what? When they went for their primaries, the person did not even get 10 votes. So when after the election, I called the regional manager. I even spoke to Prof, and I said that they should prepare a bill and give to those individual journalists who use the platform of Garden City to campaign for that man to pay for the cost of the time that they spent, because it was a useless time, you know. And so please, don't let us do the thing that will not bring profit to anybody. Let us do the things that if every one of the podcast party people, even when they disagree with us, they cannot say that we have been biased against them. They will recognize that we have offered them and made a platform. But if the Ghanaian people don't vote for them, it is not the fault of GBC. Yeah, but if we deny them and they don't get the vote, they will say GBC denied them the vote. We should not be the problem. We should act professionally such that at the end of the day, our name, our integrity, nobody can fault us. And we remain that when we say that we are the authentic voice of the people, it will be a truly authentic voice and not a contracted authentic voice. Thank you very much. Right, so now I had the, you see, this is the problem. I have the privilege of, Paula, inviting them to be sworn in to take over the responsibilities. And this will be the last act of interference in the operations of the members of the board. No, he's part of it, Prof. Prof, we are swearing you. And that way we will exclude you. Right. Honorable Sam George, in order not to avoid the question of economy and those kind of things, I will go slow. No, it's part of the history of do in the name of the Almighty God. Swear that I will at all times of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation and that I will uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the interests of the corporation. So help me God. We thank God. Sign and date it is submitted. Thank you very much. If they fail, it is our failure. If they succeed, it is our failure.
All right. Board members, before you sit, there's a quick presentation we'd like to make. The DG, together with our Director of Corporate Affairs, we would like to do a presentation to our new board members. It's a welcome package to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah. This way.
You do the presentation. I'll just speak to it briefly. We are welcoming our new board members with a token, which is symbolic of the sweetness of serving in GBC board. Each will be given a box of chocolate. And in it, by the time you finish eating the pieces, you would have gone through all the brands of GBC. And we expect that. Actually, I just picked one. It turns out to be unique. I think George is the cause. Garden City and LSTV is here. GTV is somewhere. GBC News, and then you go. By the time you finish eating, we are requesting our board members to adopt a channel out of our network and follow it religiously and tell us how to do it better. So that is what we are preserving. 2 members and NMC members who have taken time to join us. You go home with a box of chocolates of our brands. And we are praying that by the time you finish, you would have adopted at least one channel and give us feedback on how we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we hear from the new board chair, I would like us to acknowledge the presence of some members of management here. Of course, you've heard from the Director General, that's Professor Amin Al-Hassan. The Deputy Director General is also here, Mr. Augustus Yamsin, that's him. The Director of Human Relations, that's Mr. John Kwasari, that's him over there. And then Director of Finance, Francis Anaba. The Director of Corporate Affairs, that's Mamli Asari, she was the one who actually giving out the chocolate. The Director of Legal Services, we have Mr. Kwame Waja. And then the Director of Radio, Yao Owusu, Japan, that's him. And then Director of Marketing, George Lumuti. And then Director of Engineering, Eric Odonko. And then our Director of Television, Akushikakwe, over there. So these are the members of management. So ladies and gentlemen, please let's hear from our new board chair. Let's put our hands together to welcome Samuel Kujo Siaba.
Thank you. The chairman and members of the National Media Commission, the executive secretary, and members of staff of the National Media Commission, the Director General and management team of GBC, staff of GBC, ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed honored with the responsibility of assuming the duties of the governing board of the National Broadcaster GBC. On behalf of members of the new board, I express our gratitude to the NMC and to the government for the confidence reposed in us. I want to pledge that we will live up to the task. In the last few years, we have witnessed how GBC has gone through some positive transformation in its structures, its contents, and staff attitude to work. This remarkable success story of governance and administration is the outcome of the hard work of the previous boards with the support of the management team. Mr. Chair, permit me to salute the work of the past boards and the management team for the success story of GBC. In appreciating what has been achieved already, I want to assure you that this incoming board, for which I have the distinguished honor of being chairman, will build on this great work and move GBC to the next level. The incoming board has a good number of its members, including myself, returning for a second term after having served in the previous one. I want to commend the NMC for this good practice in corporate governance. It means that the new board will have to hit the road running on arrival because majority of its members are no strangers to the corporation. Continuing from the notes contained in the exit reports of the previous board, my team will be confronted with some unfinished business. One of the issues needing urgent attention is how to diversify source of electricity for GBC. In recent times, the corporation has been faced with a serious challenge on managing the payment of its electricity bills. As agreed by the previous board, GBC has to go solar to meet some of its energy needs. My team will continue the work with the management to introduce solar energy to GBC. Retooling the studios and transmission sites is another area that requires attention. The onset of digitalization and the migration from analog media ecosystem has been an ongoing process. The size of GBC has posed a challenge from transitioning from analog to digital. It is impossible to retool the corporation from internally generated fund. It took direct government of Ghana funding to set up and resource the old analog broadcasting system that has served Ghana so well since independence. It will take direct government of Ghana funding to replace its analog machines with digital ones. That is why I want to use this occasion to call on the NMC to lead the board in the appeal to government to provide needed budgetary resources to replace GBC's aged equipment. Of critical importance to this appeal for GOG intervention is the procurement of an OB van for outside broadcasting. GBC cannot rely on its internally generated fund to procure one. It is far above its threshold. The absence of a digital OB van means that GBC has to rent private sector OB vans at very high costs to cover important national assignments. Bold and new content has been introduced on the various media platforms of GBC in the past 3 years. The board will facilitate continuous improvement in this direction by giving management targets to achieve. Of particular note is the innovative work on social media. The board will encourage management to ensure that all the regional TV and radio platforms are also rolled onto social media. Mr. Chair, the outgoing board put in a good amount of effort in protecting GBC lands. We will continue to ensure that the necessary measures are put in place to ensure that GBC does not lose these assets. Again, legacy debt has been the bane of GBC for some time now. A lot has been achieved in recent times, either in getting the cost to reverse some of the previous decisions or paying up our judgment creditors. We will continue to ensure that due diligence is always done to ensure that no new debt is accrued. Industrial harmony is key in corporate governance. The board will ensure that the various stakeholders are continuously engaged to build trust and confidence in laid down procedures in resolving grievances. In conclusion, permit me to once again express our gratitude to the NMC for the opportunity to serve and to assure all stakeholders of GBC that we are set for business. We are ready to build on from where the previous board left off. Thank you for the audience.
Right, thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for the new board and, of course, our new board chair. We are just about coming to an end for the closing prayer. Last week was very interesting for us here at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. I mean, last week, Wednesday, with one of our programs called Focus. It was quite interesting on social media. And a lot of things actually went on. So I'm inviting you to watch Focus tomorrow at 9. Fortunately, I'm being biased because I'm the host, so I expect you to join us. Expect us to join us too. And also listening to us on radio, on Unique FM too. So we'll go for the closing prayer. I'll call upon Akush Kakwe, who will give us the closing prayer. That's everybody's mother in GBC. So let's put our hands together for Auntie Aku. It's 9 a.m., 9 in the morning. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, George. Should we please rise for this prayer? Our Father in heaven, indeed, this is a day that you have made. And we trust that this morning's prayers were showers of blessing on this day. Father, we seek wisdom, integrity, and vision for our board. And as a family, may we work together, and may you please fill us with courage to tell the truth, to promote justice, and may we seek the greater good. May GBC continue to shine and go even further as we seek to put Ghana further up your map. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
All right, thank you very much, and safe journey to all right. I think there'll be photo. Boss, why we take a picture with the...
Yes.
All right, so there'll be group photograph, the new board, the outgoing one, and then the NMC. I'm saying right here on this platform. So, okay, the new board.
And the outgoing board chair.
Outgoing board chair.
NMC.
Okay, with the NMC. Okay, so please, this here. Where's the cameraman? Charlie, my dear. But you take it, right?